the dancing. One more time, we're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah, alright. Don't stop the dancing. One more time, we're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah, alright. Don't stop the dancing. One more time, we're gonna celebrate. Oh yeah. One more time. I'm just feeling celebration tonight. Celebrate, don't wait too late. No, we don't stop. You can't stop. We're gonna celebrate one more time. One more time. One more time. Celebration. You know we're gonna do it right tonight. Hey, just feeling. Music's got me feeling the need. Yeah. Come on. Alright, we're gonna celebrate one more time. Celebrate and dance so free. Music's got me feeling so free. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free. One more time. Music's got me feeling so free. We're gonna celebrate. Celebrate and dance so free.
Hello and welcome to the fifth and final race in the Digital Swiss 5. It's the final stanza of hybrid esports action centred on the Zal Sportshalle in Zurich, where many but not all of the riders in the 5 teams are located in this exciting new development in online bike racing. Top athletes from the worlds of road racing, mountain biking, triathlon and even rowing have assembled to do battle for individual glory and for the honour of their teams. And we've got 5 teams of up to 6 riders, some here in the South Sportshalle, others competing at remote locations, racing on the ROUVY platform of real-time videos through some of Switzerland's most beautiful cities. The action switches to the virtual world of Zurich in northwest Switzerland for this final opportunity for glory. It's a challenging circuit this afternoon. 4 laps of 9.7 kilometres and fully 150 metres of altitude gain per lap ahead of the riders. Going to be a grippy one. UCI World e-bike champion Jason Osborne and World and Olympic medalist Marlon Reusser are basking in the glory of impressive quadruple successes heading into race 5. Team Lugano hold a narrow lead from Team Basel, who took the win this morning and are set to keep the issue in doubt all the way to the finish line. Well, Stefan Schwenke is standing by to introduce the teams as they limber up for a final helping of the digital Swiss 5. Let's see who's getting set to go racing one more time.
So, welcome back at the field of play for the last and ultimate stage of this digital Swiss 5. Let's start with the official team presentation. Some riders are still missing, but they will be there until the start. We start as well with Team Lucerne. And welcome twice Olympic participant fourth in Tokyo. Welcome triathlete Martin van Riel, Belgium. Next to him will ride later Nina Durand from Switzerland. She will come within the next minutes. And we go on with our presentation with Team Lugano. Welcome from New Zealand. Bronze medalist in Tokyo. Welcome Hayden Wild. Next to him, representing Austria, 10th in the overall ranking of the Giro d'Italia. Welcome Hermann Pernsteiner. Another very, very fast triathlete representing Belgium, 18th at the World Championship. Welcome Hanne de Vet. Team Zurich in the middle of the Saalsporthalle, represented by the lady in red, the Swiss champion. Here is Marlen Reusser. Next to her, riding for Bahrain victorious, winner of the white jersey of the Vuelta, stage winner of the Giro d'Italia, Gino Mäder, Switzerland. And another very, very strong triathlete from Switzerland, 5th at the World Triathlon Championship Finals in Edmonton. Here is Adrien Briffaut. The next triathlete for Team Basel is on his way. We welcome Boris Stein, and the white jersey with the rainbow colors is the jersey of the world champion. Here is, representing Germany, Jason Osborne. As well from Germany, the winner of the Ironman 70.3 Luxembourg, Laura Chacon. From the Czech Republic, we welcome Jan Zaska. Another very strong Swiss rider, stage winner of this year's Giro d'Italia. Welcome from Switzerland, Mauro Schmidt. And last but not least, from Switzerland as well, world champion in cross triathlon 2021, 23 years old. Bienvenue et welcome, Loen Duvoisin. Und dazu, and additional, we have the riders out there. I hope we will see them on the screen. Welcome and grüezi, Rita Hollenstein. For Team Zurich as well, Skabo Gmai. Welcome. Samuel Hürzeler, Switzerland, for Team Lausanne. Marta Bastianelli, Team Luzern, bienvenuti. Marvi Garcia, Team Lausanne, buenos dias. And Franz Löschke is not on his bike, not yet, but well, we have 90 seconds left. We go on with Declan, your commentator for the next hour. Have a lot of fun.
Well, thanks, Stefan. If it's anything like the fun that we've had in the previous 4 races, this is set to be an absolute cracker. The previous 4 races, well, epic really, and particularly this morning's, the issue in doubt right the way to the finish line. But Jason Osborne continuing as he left off in the previous 3 events by distancing his teammate, the man immediately to his right, Boris Stein, who's just arrived in the hall, leaving his warm-up to the very last moment. This is a new tactic perhaps, but I'll tell you what, a new tactic from Team Basel in this morning's 4th race was very interesting indeed. As Stein attacked, Osborne went with him. The others were hoodwinked somewhat and not alive to the danger. They very quickly stole a march and got over 50 metres of an advantage. Once the elastic had broken and they got themselves clear of the slipstream of the other, 4 or 5 riders that were with them at that point, and it was over the halfway point of the event, well, things got very interesting indeed. We're down into the final 20 seconds as we get set for this final helping of action here in the digital Swiss 5. 4 laps of 9.7 kilometres. It's just around about an hour, maybe a little bit less of race action, and we're coming down to the final 10 seconds as the countdown begins and the riders wind up the power through the final 5 seconds. Osborne and the rest set to go, go in this 5th and final event in the digital Swiss 5. As Osborne immediately leaps close to, if not quite on the front. And that's the trick, isn't it? Be in the wheels, but not beyond the wheels. And we've got riders of the quality of Mavi Garcia, the Spanish veteran, riding remotely, immediately up and on the pedals, and if anything, got a bit of an advantage, maybe 10 metres or more. So that was an absolutely superb start from Mavi Garcia of Team Lausanne, who hasn't featured on the podium in the previous 4 races. Indeed, she missed this morning's race, but she's back in action for this final event. And Mavi Garcia wants to make sure that she's in that lead bunch right from the get-go, because that seems to be the key to try and get on terms with Marlon Reusser. You have to stay with that group of leaders for as long as possible. Reusser too eventually distanced by the lead group in this morning's 4th race, but not before Hannah de Vet had also been dropped, and that was the advantage that she gained. Stayed with the leaders just a little bit longer, got about a half a kilometre up the road, and from then on was really able to turn on the engine and draw further clear of Hannah de Vet. So de Vet too, I think, will be particularly motivated to try and stay with them. Garcia is still showing at the head of affairs. Jason Osborne is in there, Pernsteiner, the usual suspects. Worth a mention too for Sean Bennett. He's switched teams this afternoon. He's not the first to do this, but we've just had a slight change in the plan. He's headed from Team Lugano across to assist Team Lucerne in their bid to hold off Team Lausanne in the battle for the wooden spoon of the 5 teams. The battle amongst the lead squads is absolutely fascinating. Team Basel's victory this morning by the narrow margin of 3 points halved their disadvantage, the deficit to the all-conquering Team Lugano squad, who had won the first 3 races, and that's going to be one to watch, and we'll try and keep an eye on exactly how many riders from Basel and Lugano, the 2 teams which can realistically take victory in this first digital Swiss 5. And great to see as the teams and riders have adapted to the ROUVY platform and come to understand e-bike racing and esports and the particular characteristics of this fascinating new hybrid event, how they've adapted to it. And that's what we saw this morning, the Team Basel working well. Jason Osborne in the company of Boris Stein, leaping clear of the rest and disappearing up the road. And I can tell you at the moment it's Osborne on the front with Stein for company. Hayden Wild is there. Wild gave us a great interview, didn't he, after the race today, the triathlon star from New Zealand, just mentioning that he had a good first couple of races, then dropped away a little bit in the second race last night, so that was race 3, and then sort of redressed the balance a little bit and well inside the top 10 in this morning's 4th race. Mara Schmidt has also performed with great distinction. Took a little bit of time to play himself into the action in yesterday morning's race 3, which is his first event. And then in the afternoon race, well, he was absolutely flying. He was the podium finisher, 3rd on the day. So he and Wild and the rest will hope to make sure that they stay within touching distance of the leaders as long as possible. I can tell you though, a few little gaps starting to open up already, and Osborne, I think, has decided to play this in a different way. He and Thomas Steger racing remotely, Osborne here in the hall, South Sportshalle in Zurich, and racing in and around the virtual streets of Zurich as well. We started this final stage down by the City Hall in the centre of Zurich, in and around the area, just touching onto the edge of Lake Zurich, another beautiful part of the world. And this is a select group racing clear already. It's Osborne, Wild and Steger that have stolen a march on the rest. And a little bit of a surprise, really, that Hermann Pernsteiner already finds himself fighting a rearguard action. He and Mauro Schmidt have got some work to do, because they find themselves, Boris Stein too, second this morning, now just a smidgen under 50 metres adrift of his teammate, and Thomas Steger and Hayden Wild. So an immediate separation. Now I should remind you that this is a grippy one. 150 metres gained per lap, and we've got 4 laps, so it's 600 metres in less than 40 kilometres of bike racing. It's challenging enough, and this circuit tends to ramp up all the way to the halfway point on the lap and then plunges down again. So the really challenging element is in that first half of the lap. So I think all the riders understood that a really good warm-up was necessary, and you just had to be absolutely ready to empty yourself from the get-go. Certainly Jason Osborne understands how to play these games. He is the world champion, and he is at the front at the moment with Steger and Hayden Wild. And look at the gradient. It's what, over 8% at this point as these 3 superstars. It's a familiar pattern, isn't it? We've got the colours, the black and white colours of Team Basel, represented by the world champion Jason Osborne, and flanking him either side in the avatar on the game, we have Thomas Steger and Hayden Wild, the two Team Lugano riders, knowing that should they not be able to hang on with Jason Osborne, at the very least they need to finish second and third today. And for Basel, well, they've got a problem, because they need to get Boris Stein, who's their only realistic contender. His top 2 male team times, or finishing positions I should say, will be counted, and the top woman position from each of the teams. And that's how they'll assemble the points and work out exactly who has won this first edition of the Digital Swiss 5, heading up the hill towards the halfway point on this first of 4 laps of action. 3 riders clear at the moment: Osborne, Steger and Wild, and Mauro Schmidt is racing solo at the moment. Narrow margin. Well, I say solo, he's actually got Martin van Riel, who had a bit of a mare this morning, struggled to get away. Not 100% sure what the difficulty was, but normal service has been resumed, and van Riel is part of that chase group of 4 or 5 riders that are, well, it's lung-bursting stuff for them, but they're in pursuit of the leading trio and at a remove of something between 100 and 120 metres at the moment. There's a few little separations there. Could be critical, this. Over the top of the climb, remember, they will get the draft effect across and down the descent, which occupies much of the rest of the lap. But for all that, they need to be very attentive. Chatting to Marlon Reusser following her victory this morning, she said you do get a significant draft effect on the descent, but once the road sort of levels off and plateaus at the bottom, if you're not well within sort of 2 or 3 meters, you don't get that draft effect, and suddenly any power deficit that you're struggling with can cost you dear. So, yep, you can let yourself go by about 20 meters on the descent, but you got to get right up and onto the wheel of the other riders when it flattens off. Bit of a way to go before Marlon Reusser gets to that point. And Reusser currently in a bit of a scrap. She's got Mavi Garcia for company. Indeed, Garcia is showing very well in 13th at the position at the moment, and on pretty much the same position. This is a great response, isn't it, from Mavi Garcia of Team Lausanne, looking to really try and shake up the order. Would be a surprise, not entirely a surprise, given her wonderful performances in road race cycling in recent years. And Mavi Garcia, we think particularly of that long-range attack in Strade Bianche 2020, when she wasn't quite able to hold off Annemiek van Vleuten, but well, she made herself a real hero in road race cycling, and she's got a good win this year in Giro dell'Emilia. Look at that for pain and suffering. The Spanish champion, Mavi Garcia, is tapping out a very interesting rhythm there. Effective enough it is. The shoulders going in some sort of syncope. I think she's dancing to the music as well as riding as far and as fast as she possibly can. It's painful stuff, but it's effective stuff at the moment for Mavi Garcia, sitting 11th and right with Marlon Reusser. This is the first time that we've had a head-to-head scrap for the women's competition here. And Reusser, I think, will really relish the fact that this has been put up to her. It's a proper challenge here. They're teammates on the road, remember. The Ale Ljubljana PTC squad has both Mavi Garcia and Marlon Reusser's talents to call on, albeit probably worth noting that Marlon Reusser is off to SD Works next year, and she's very grateful indeed for all the help and assistance she's had from the Ale PTC Ljubljana squad over the last couple of years, but certainly looking forward, I think, to being in a team of really big champions at SD Works. The time trial champion of Europe, and Marta Bastianelli, the world road race champion, formerly for Team Luzern, looking to just step up and improve on this morning's, well, a pretty tough outing, to be perfectly honest. It was definitely a bit of a scrap for her. And she's currently sitting, well, she's got 5 riders behind her at the moment, so it looks like an improvement for Marta Bastianelli. I suspect she's enjoying the fact that it's a climbing course. It's more suited to her particular characteristics. Quick reminder, man up front at the moment is Hayden Wild with Jason Osborne and Thomas Steger. If anything, Wild is on the charge a little bit. Steger looking to respond here. Osborne alive to the potential for a little bit of a separation. We're on the descent from that first climb, plunging down at very impressive rate, over 55 kilometers an hour briefly for those riders. So Wild, Osborne and Steger clear of the rest. Pernsteiner in the hall here, focused on trying to improve on the 5th place finish from this morning's race, and well, he's got to stay with Maro Schmidt to do it, then out sprint him. Schmidt beat him yesterday, didn't they, in the scrap for 3rd in race 3, but Pernsteiner is fully, what, 260 odd meters behind Osborne, Wild and Steger, so already they've got a bit of head scratching and a bit of work to do. Boris Stein is currently sitting in 6th place, so Stein, after his heroics in this morning's 4th race, Boris Stein of Team Basel, it's a headache moment for him because he's really going to, he's certainly going to count for Team Basel. Of that, I think there's very little doubt. But in terms of really scoring big points, it's going to be tough to prevent Team Lugano. I think for Team Basel, they can only hope really that there's something extraordinary maybe happens in the women's competition. Marlon Reusser, though, has reasserted her authority. She's, well, 20, 30 meters ahead of Mavi Garcia. So interesting and difficult moment here for Mavi Garcia as they plunge down the descent, just head to that little plateau section. So the road will level off ever so slightly. And Garcia finds herself now 30, 40 meters behind Marlon Reusser. And that could be a dangerous moment. Reusser and Garcia running 12th and 13th in this race. The first 2 women. The first time that Marlon Reusser has really been asked a big question. And Garcia, her watts ramp up over 7 watts per kilo as she absolutely stomps on the pedals to try and charge back up and into the wake of Marlon Reusser. So critical moment here, but the gap is still going out. It's 50, 60 meters between Reusser and Mavi Garcia. So Reusser sees her opportunity. As she says she couldn't figure out the game at all, but maybe she's not intelligent enough. I think she was definitely trying to hoodwink Gus with that because she's anything but she's probably the smartest person in the room. And I think she's figured out this one, and she's certainly put a little bit of daylight between herself and Mavi Garcia. She's 11th at the moment. Garcia slips to 13th, and Gino Mader in between them. And Mader with Marlon Reusser. Once again, the 2 Team Zurich riders. Where is our other buddy? Because they've spent quite a bit of time over the last couple of races with Adrian Brifo, running 19th at the moment. He's been distanced somewhat as the top, 5th ranked triathlete in World Series competition this year. Marta Bastianelli is improving as well. She's up to 22nd. For her, it's a really big lift. Hannah de Vet, who's been secure 2nd place finisher in the first 4 races, finds herself running 3rd at the moment. She's 18th in the race, and Hannah de Vet may be feeling the pinch a little bit. All of these riders, I think, in various different states of disrepair following the huge efforts that they've made Quick reminder up front, just to let you know, we have got 9.5 kilometers complete, coming to the conclusion of the first lap. So we're coming up to 1/4 distance in this, the 5th and final race in the Digital Swiss 5. Osborne, Wild and Steger locked in combat together. And that's the finish line. 3 more times across it. Who's going to be first to make it? It's the black and white colours of Team Basel, led by Jason Osborne, the all-conquering German hero, and he's absolutely flying at the moment. Thomas Steger is in that group as well. Hayden Wild for Team Lugano. 2 Luganos up front. Maro Schmidt doing a super job since he's arrived for Team Lausanne in yesterday's competition. Once more towards the top of the standings, albeit at this point 360 metres down. Hermann Pernsteiner keeping company with Maro Schmidt. And Reto Hollenstein is, a further 60, 70 metres behind. Hollenstein running in a pretty impressive 6th position at the moment, and the top scoring Team Zurich rider. Boris Stein has slipped after his heroics this morning, running 2nd. Well, he did have a trio of 5th place finishes from the first 3 races, so still the potential for Boris Stein to get up towards the top 5, but he's going to have to find 100 metres or so to get up to Pernsteiner, Schmidt and Hollenstein. Not the work of the moment, that I think. It's going to be a big ask. Marlon Reusser, just to let you, well, we'll let you know, tell you the rest of the top 10 as we work it out. There's a reminder of the team standings, by the way. Just 3 points between Team Lugano and Team Basel. Lugano, after a trio of victories, having to give best to Team Basel this morning, and that's drawing the Basel squad up to within 3 points. Team Zurich have been secure in their 3rd place, finishing 3rd in all of the events so far. Team Luzern bested on just 1 occasion by Team Lausanne, so there's a bit of daylight between those 2 squads in the battle for the final positions. Steger, Osborne and Wild settle in. Nothing to choose between them. And Pernsteiner not too far away from Gino Mader in the hall, in the Salzsporthalle here in Zurich, but Gino Mader is down in 11th position at the moment, just behind Sean Bennett. Well, about 120 metres behind Sean Bennett, to be absolutely correct. Pernsteiner, I tell you what, we're just having a look at this, and I'm not sure what the problem is, but Hermann Pernsteiner has slipped back to 9th position. We'll just have a little look at this and see if there's any reset. I think there is, actually. I think that might have been just a little bit of a Wi-Fi glitch. And Pernsteiner, will he be returned to a position in the top 5? He's showing in 9th. He's showing at 320 metres behind, and Reto Hollenstein now is listed as the 4th place rider in this competition at a remove of 260 metres from the front. So looks like we've had a few riders have arrived up. So the situation now, 2 riders up front, Osborne and Steger. Hayden Wild has found himself distanced by about 28, 29 metres, so danger time for Hayden Wild, the Team Lugano triathlete. And this is the first bit of good news, really, that the Team Basel squad have had lately, because Hayden Wild detached, and now it's just 1-on-1. Osborne against Steger up front. I say detached. It's less than 30 metres, but you know, often when the slipstream effect goes, it's so hard to get it back, and can. Well, just as I said, he's straight back up and on, so I think we spoke a little bit soon there, not the first time in this event. It is a 3-way fight at the head of affairs, Osborne, Wild and Steger, so Wild has answered that little challenge and responded to what I think was a little bit of a danger moment for him, but he's still very much in the hunt and part of the scrap. We're heading out on this 2nd lap of racing, 18 minutes of racing completed, and just over 1/4 distance. Wild, Osborne and Steger with just under 400 metres advantage. Pernsteiner, I can tell you, has been returned to a position in the top 4. So I think that might just have been a little bit of a glitch with the updating of the machine, but the game effort now reflecting the effort by the rider on the pedals here in the Salzsporthalle, as Hermann Pernsteiner for Team Lugano running in 4th. The man who finished in top 10 in the Giro d'Italia in 2020. He's a great climber, great all-round game when it comes to the Grand Tours. He gets through 3 weeks pretty well. He gets through 3 days pretty well as well. He's been consistently there or thereabouts. And power output from such a relatively small stature is, well, it's incredibly impressive. Barrel-chested, huge lungs, of course, and he's doing a hell of a job. Adrien Briffaut is another man with a huge physiological ability, and he's trying to stomp his way up into a decent position. Difficult moment, and I'm not exactly sure why, because Briffaut's been consistently sort of within the sort of 10th to 12th mark over the first 2 days of racing action, but Briffaut now finding himself back in 16th place, 1.5 kilometers behind, and he's not in tandem with Marlon Reusser anymore. I tell you, I'll give you another interesting piece of information. Mavi Garcia is within 20 meters of Marlon Reusser. Garcia making a huge effort to get back on terms. We pick up the Team Lausanne athlete, the Spanish national champion, and it's painful effort, but she's figured out this game, there's no doubt about it, and Reusser's in a scrap. Reusser is going to have to battle for this one. Less than 10 meters between the two of them. Hannah de Vet, for the first time, finds herself challenged for that second spot behind Marlon Reusser. De Vet 1.57 kilometers behind the leader at the moment. By contrast, Reusser is just half a kilometer, 500 meters, 570 meters to be precise. So it's about a kilometer now between Marlon Reusser and Hannah de Vet, who's running third in this competition. But Reusser has a challenger. Mavi Garcia within 10 meters of the race leader at the moment. And Reusser, there's no kidding around now. No time for chatting. Just as I say it, we get a smile from her. She's a real character, and she's charmed everyone here in the South Sports Halle over the last couple of days with her just fresh and winning attitude to the whole event. She's confident, she's a very talented athlete, but she knows how to find a way to enjoy the experience. Time trial specialist, of course, and a rider who's also finding new love for road racing, and I think also starting to enjoy esports. This man's always enjoyed it, but look at the way he's starting to pump sweat in a way that we haven't really seen in the first 2 days. He was the one staying coolest of all because he was the one with the cooling fan. Well, they've sprouted up all over the hall in the last day or so. And now Jason Osborne in a battle up front with Thomas Steger. 14 kilometers completed now of this event, and Thomas Steger and Jason Osborne. Steger finishing third this morning, chastened I think somewhat by not being able to stay with Osborne when he attacked that time with Boris Stein, and he wasn't going to make the same mistake twice, and clearly Steger is up for this one. Pernsteiner also in a handy fourth place position at the moment, in the company of Mauro Schmidt. And Team Lugano handily placed really. They've got the second, third and fourth stroke fifth place riders at the moment, because Steger is running with the leader Jason Osborne. Hayden Wild is running in third place, racing solo 300 meters behind the leaders, and similar margin back to Mauro Schmidt behind him, and Herman Pernsteiner in there for Lugano. So they've got potentially three riders who could score really big points here, but of course it's only going to be their top two positions amongst the male competitors. And just to remind you, the top woman will score for each team. Can't keep explaining the rules enough, I think. Explaining them for myself as much as anyone else. Osborne and Steger now approaching half a kilometre clear of Hayden Wild. And 3 minutes of racing. We're heading down, plunging down the second half of this. It's a rather simple course. It winds, twists left and right. That's not a challenge to the riders on their home trainers, of course, but the course is simply an agonizing climb up, and then you got to find a way to stay on the power on the descent as the speeds ramp up. Over 70 kilometers an hour at the moment for Jason Osborne and Thomas Steger as they race through the concluding kilometers of this second lap of action. Digital Swiss 5 coming down to a conclusion. And Jason Osborne dearly would love to take that fifth victory to make it a full set. He's in a scrap though. Steger's not giving this one up without a fight, and so too Mavi Garcia. What a response from the Team Lausanne rider. She is actually right with, literally to a meter, Marlon Reusser, and those two riders are locked in combat. Well, Reusser said yesterday on at least a couple of occasions she really wanted to have a little bit of company in the race. Well, you know what? You be careful what you wish for sometimes, because Mavi Garcia has come to race with her, and this one, I think, you know what, in actual fact, she's really going to enjoy it. She'll only really have enjoyed it if she gets the win, but Marlon Reusser is going to be asked a big question here, because Mavi Garcia, for a moment I thought she was actually in danger of being dropped, but she made a big response, and Garcia's pulling all sorts of faces in her pain cave at home. She's got some very natty little bike covers and bikes up on the wall, and she's done a nice little feng shui kind of routine to get the pain cave just the way she likes it. But right now she's not thinking about anything of that ilk. All she can focus on is that avatar and trying to make sure that she keeps it within touching distance of the runaway race leader in all of the races to this point, Marlon Reusser. Well, she's ahead of her. In fact, they're actually showing precisely 2.4 kilometers, so within 10 meters of each other constantly in the last little while. The watts per kilo numbers are worth taking on board. Consistently over 4 watts per kilo for Jason Osborne. Never really drops below that, and regularly spikes up north of 5 and into the 6s, and they manage to maintain that level of intensity throughout the event, throughout each of the events, and no obvious sign of a diminishment of power, which you might kind of expect, because this is the third day of racing action, and you would sort of imagine that the riders would be starting to feel a bit of fatigue. I've no doubt they are, but still the muscles and the lungs are responding to the questions being asked. And here we hit a difficult moment for Mara Schmidt and Hermann Pernsteiner. Schmidt is racing with distinction for Team Lausanne in the green and white colours, and Pernsteiner with that halved jersey combination, red and blue, of Team Lugano. Pernsteiner and Schmidt locked in combat, battling for 4th and 5th. Ahead of them, Hayden Wild, half a kilometre down on the leaders. It's a solo time trial for the triathlon star from New Zealand. Steger and Osborne also absolutely locked together, and behind Schmidt and Pernsteiner, you've got this fascinating little scrap developing between Lukasz Tomaszek, the leading amateur rider, consistently in the top 6. Amazing performances from him. Boris Stein and Martin van Riel is there, and Reto Hollenstein. So quite an interesting little four-way gap developing between those riders. Gino Mader has had been sort of loitering just outside the top 10. This looks interesting for Mader to see if he can hang on to a top 10. What's even more interesting is that if we look up front, Jason Osborne has gone on a bit of an exploratory attack, and this is crisis moment for Thomas Steger. Has he simply run out of gas, or has this been a sustained push for Jason Osborne? He's gone on the attack. He's put some daylight between himself and Thomas Steger as he works his way around the street furniture, and tries to avoid the dogs in downtown Zurich, down by the river. He's on the attack for Team Basel. Jason Osborne desperately wants that 5th successive win. He wants to stamp his authority all over this and go right the way through the Digital Swiss 5 unbeaten. The way things are looking, it's looking pretty good. Coming up to half distance now for Jason Osborne. He's within the closing moments of this second of 4 laps, and it's up to 80 meters. It's an effort in excess of 5.5, 6 watts per kilo. It's kind of spiking at over 6 watts per kilo in the last, consistently in the last kilometre or so. And across the tarmac, 46 kilometres an hour, 45 kilometres an hour by Thomas Steger, and the gap continues to rise. Steger's efforts are exceptional, and Steger's efforts are drawing him further clear of Hayden Wild, but unfortunately for Steger, once more, Jason Osborne just appears to have an extra gear, something else. He's just got more power, it's as simple as that, and he's able to bring that power up and onto this climb, which would feel like a long climb for most people, but for riders of this caliber and athletic ability, well, they jump up and over it before they hardly notice it. I'll tell you what, several riders certainly do notice it, but Jason Osborne notices it less than others. 20.1 kilometers completed now for Jason Osborne. He's through the second lap and heading out into the difficult second half of this event, where the fatigue will start to accrue. And remember, they've done this on 4 previous occasions already over the last 2.5 days of racing. So, well, just what are the responses from the muscles for Hayden Wilde? It's a really solid effort for Team Lugano. He's the second counting rider at the moment. What's going to happen to Thomas Steger, because the gap continues to rise, coming up on 100 meters now for Jason Osborne out front. Steger in second place, just about 100 meters back. Hayden Wilde third at 700 meters. Mara Schmidt and Hermann Pernsteiner locked in combat for 4th position. Team Lausanne and Team Lugano respectively. They're just over 1,100 meters behind the race leader. Reto Hollenstein has been distanced, but he's got Lukas Tomaszek and Boris Stein and indeed Martin van Riel for company. They're 1.5 kilometers from the lead of the bike race, and they have got the battle for 6th to occupy their thinking. There's the current standings, with over 6 watts per kilo being demanded by Jason Osborne as he continues to extend his advantage, now approaching 100 meters over Thomas Steger. Steger has not given in just yet, has he? And if anything, just closes the gap ever so slightly as the riders go up and down, and there's that concertina effect. The gaps expand and contract depending on whether they're on a short climb or a short descent. Depending on whether, you know, one is on a climb, the other one's on a descent, then it condenses a little bit, but it stretches again. Time gap is really that stays relatively constant between them. Marlon Reusser is in a battle for the victory amongst the women. She too would really like to go through the card. 5 consecutive victories. She's got 4, but now she's got Mavi Garcia to really challenge her, and they're still absolutely welded together. Reusser and Garcia's exceptional start to this competition saw her in that lead group for as long as it took to make sure that she still was with Reusser when Reusser was distanced. That seems to be the only way to play it, and she played it to absolute perfection, and now she's had enough ability to recover and stay on terms with Reusser, battling for 11th and 12th positions at the moment. Sean Bennett is some way adrift, about 400 meters behind Reusser at the moment in his new Team Luzerne colours. Adrian Brifo is recovering, was running 16th, he's up to 14th and closing the gap, I think, to Sean Bennett. A little bit of work for him to do. And then we've got a couple of amateurs. Alexis Herain, I'm not sure if that name, apologies on that, but he's a Swiss competitor. Jürgen Foley, another rider representing Switzerland. Sami Hurzeler, the Team Lausanne triathlete, running in 17th position. Jan Schaske, 18th for the Czech Republic and Team Lausanne. Hannah de Vet, 3rd woman at the moment for Team Lugano. And that could be significant in actual fact, because she's only going to score 3rd place points, albeit I don't think Team Basel have their best woman rider is Laura Chacon, still behind Hannah de Vet and not able to score big points. So an opportunity perhaps being missed here by Team Basel, and a great job being done by Team Lugano. Once more packing well through close to the head of affairs. Hannah de Vet we just got a quick sight of. So our leaders, Jason Osborne, he's extended his advantage just over 100 meters clear of Thomas Steger. Hayden Wilde is still sitting in 3rd place. If anything, he's getting dropped. He's almost 900 meters, 850 meters behind Jason Osborne at the moment. Mara Schmidt and Hermann Pernsteiner are, if anything, closing up to Hayden Wilde. And in turn, it looks a little bit as if Lukas Tomaszek, Boris Stein, Martin van Riel and Reto Hollenstein, that 4-way battle for 5th to 9th positions, they're locked in combat. They're also, I think, closing the gap a little bit. They're within 200 meters of the leaders. So too Gino Mader's on a bit of a push to get on terms with Hollenstein and Van Riel. This one is kind of condensing, and riders who've saved a little bit for the final couple of laps. Well, we hit this climb, third time of asking. Osborne is clear of the rest, but I'll tell you what, a lot of riders who have suffered on the first two ascents of this difficult first half of the lap are actually now starting to gain a little bit and maybe just play their way into the race. Osborne looks like this is the most painful thing he's ever done in his life. We saw virtually no betrayal of the pain in the first few races, but that's not the case now. I think he's really feeling the pinch a little bit. But you know what? He's still extending his advantage up to 128 meters ahead of Thomas Steger. Osborne 158 metres make that ahead of Steger. Hayden Wild is Wild, I should say, 630 metres. So we've had a little bit of a reset there, and I think in actual fact he's on the descent. Of course, the other riders still on the climb. So Wild will close up a little bit, and that distance will extend once more. The relative difference between the third place rider and the leading two, I don't think there's any significant change there. Pernsteiner now 900 metres behind and 1.2 kilometres back to Boris Stein, so little more than 200 metres, maybe 300 metres at a push between Mara Schmidt and Hermann Pernsteiner, and by the four-way scrap led by Boris Stein at the moment. So we keep an eye on that to see whether Stein, Tomaszek, Van Riel and Hollenstein can possibly get on terms. Gino Mader too has 200 metres to make up to get into that four-way battle. Were Mader to close up, he'd go from running 10th in solo into a potential ride to a top 5 finishing position. So there's much to be gained if he is able to continue this kind of progress. Quick reminder of the position amongst the women. It's still Mavi Garcia locked in combat with Marlon Reusser. Absolutely nothing to choose between them. They're right together. And I think there's a good chance actually that Sean Bennett could get up and into this group, this private battle between these two leading women. Currently running in 13th place. Brifo as well. He too could get up there, and that would be interesting because Brifo, of course, is a teammate of Marlon Reusser. So you could have a little bit of team play, which would be entirely, well, it wouldn't be just illegal and allowed, it'd be appropriate, and I'm sure he'll definitely try and help his teammate if he possibly can. And Brifo is almost up there, I think. He's just about arrived onto the tail of the group, as indeed has Sean Bennett. Mara Schmidt and Hermann Pernsteiner are pressing on in fifth and fourth places respectively, and Schmidt is doing a really solid job here for Team Lausanne, and Hermann Pernsteiner too, maintaining their position and maintaining their advantage over the Boris Stein. We're calling it the Boris Stein group because he's led it so consistently for such a length of time. And he's pressing on, but can he possibly get up there? Boris Stein with Lukas Tomaszek, Martin Van Riel and Reto Hollenstein. Gino Mader still racing solo, and I'm not sure he's going to be able to get up there. It's showing it just about 100 metres to Hollenstein, so it's not out of beyond the bounds of possibility that Gino Mader will get up to race with Reto Hollenstein, as he indeed has done on several occasions in this event to this point. And Garcia and Reusser still racing together. Brifo's up, I can tell you that. Bennett's arrived as well. So that's now a four-way gap for 11th position. Garcia, Reusser, Bennett and Brifo all locked in combat. Now it's a private battle between Mavi Garcia and Marlon Reusser for leading woman, but of course Brifo is a teammate of Marlon Reusser and would certainly be interested in assisting her if he possibly could. They're 3.65 kilometres as things currently stand. 38 minutes of racing have been completed. 26 kilometres of racing have been achieved by the riders. And it's a 38.92 kilometre race, by the way. So we've got about 12 and a half kilometres still to do. So just over a lap at this point for your race leader, and a little bit more for many of the rest of the riders in the group. We'll scroll down through the order. Brifo having joined that group in 14th position. Behind them, we've got a couple of amateur riders, then Hurzeler, Saska, for Lausanne and Zurich respectively. Then we've got Hannah de Vet is the third place woman in 19th position overall, sitting around about the 600 metre mark behind the lead woman duo. Should that turn into a little bit of a scrap where they ease off and start eyeballing each other in a virtual sense, it could allow Hannah de Vet to close up a lot, but I think it's probably a little bit much to expect that she's going to be able to get right up and into that battle for the lead and make it a three-way scrap. Don't rule it out though. Let's watch and see if she's able to close up a little bit. Laura Chacon is sitting in 4th place amongst the women. Nina Deron next up. Marta Bastianelli running 25th after her early heroics. She's still got several riders behind her. Up front, it's still Jason Osborne. Now 380 metres clear of Thomas Steger. Steger's effort is continuing to see him dropping further away from Jason Osborne, but also it has to be pointed out he's continuing to extend his advantage over Hayden Wilde. And these are the amateur riders in the South Sportshalle, racing in the company of the professionals. What a proud moment for them. Up towards the front, Gino Mader, a star of world road racing. Marlon Reusser, she too also an Olympic silver medalist, a world silver medalist, and a European champion in the time trial. Hannah de Vet has had a quartet of second place finishes and would dearly love to maybe move to top spot. But the way things are looking at the moment, 3rd and a 5th consecutive podium finish is probably the best that she can hope for. For Laura Chacon, she's managed a couple of 3rd place finishes in this race. Can she possibly move up to challenge and get on terms with Hannah de Vet? And most of the leading riders are actually in the South Sportshalle, but not all of them. And most significantly, Mavi Garcia racing solo at home, Thomas Steger as well. And let's get a look at the gap again between Reusser and Garcia, still absolutely welded together. And Brifo and Bennett watching with interest. Will we see any sustained push from the Team Zurich duo? Will they get together to try and attack as Jason Osborne down into the central area of Zurich and heading towards the virtual finish line to complete his 3rd lap. So the final 9.7 kilometres await for your race leader, Jason Osborne, racing solo and happy enough to be doing that now. The handy advantage, he's just got to knock this one out of the park. Still managing to maintain a level of intensity that can only be imagined by most of us. 5 watts per kilo, well over 5 watts per kilo being produced by Jason Osborne. It's similar numbers by Thomas Steger, albeit not consistently as high. And he finds himself now 370 odd metres behind. That's the separation in time between them as Steger completes his 3rd lap and heads out on his final tour. Next to break the beam at the finish line will be Hayden Wilde, running in 3rd. Hayden Wilde, I think, will be interested in the performance of Hannah de Vet as well, to see how she's getting on, running in 3rd place in the women's competition at the moment. Marlon Reusser, you can see, out of the saddle, continuing to push on. Hermann Pernsteiner, who we saw very briefly, looks more in control of his effort. It's another out of the saddle effort coming on from Brifo. Of course, these riders are in different parts of the lap, aren't they? And those out of the saddle, well, they're either on the attack or there's a very good chance they're on the hill. Up front, Osborne now has maintaining that 370 odd metre advantage over Thomas Steger. Hayden Wilde running 1.7 kilometers behind and still racing solo. But you know what? I think that there's a really good chance that Maro Schmidt, Hermann Pernsteiner, Lukas and Pernsteiner, those two riders could actually get on terms with Hayden Wilde. It's down to just a smidgen over 200 meters. It's going to be nip and tuck. This is going to be a close run thing, I think, to see whether he manages to hang on. And the amateur riders doing a really solid job, but I think we get a real sense of just how complicated. Over 1,700 riders registered online for this particular event. These are the pro races, of course. We've had the amateur or the open events that have also run in tandem with these pro races throughout the 3 days of race action and indeed the 5 races. And into those pro races, a certain number of amateur riders have been invited as well. Some quality competition. Lukas Tomaszek has been the standout competitor amongst the amateurs. Indeed, he's run in the top 10 against the pros, so he's a superb competitor. And he's in that quartet of racers, including Boris Stein, Martin van Riel, and Reto Hollenstein. Gino Mader has made it up and into it as well. He's arrived in. Gino Mader, who has had quite the scrap there. From Bahrain victorious, stage winner in the Tour de Suisse. Adrian Brifo has also done a really solid job. He was running in 18th place at one point. Now he's in a battle for 11th, and more particularly, he's very usefully got himself on terms to assist, if possible, his teammate Marlon Reusser in a battle to beat Mavi Garcia. Those three locked together. Sean Bennett showing it about 20 odd meters behind them. I think he's pretty much in that group as well. So 4-way scrap for 11th and a 2-way scrap for the women's competition. Are we going to have our first winner who's actually at a remote location? That's going to be interesting. And will Marlon Reusser be able to prevent Mavi Garcia from allowing her to race through the card? Got to get the fluid in. We've seen the core temperatures presented to us by the core company ramping up through these races as the riders start well south of 37 degrees Celsius and adding 1 or 2, sometimes 3 degrees to their core temperature. It's demanding stuff. It's hot work. And for Loan Duvoisin, the triathlete going pro next year, won an Ironman 70.5 in Luxembourg earlier on this year. Breakthrough success for her. We've had some breakthrough success in the last couple of years from Marlon Reusser, who's looking pretty cool, calm and collected at the moment. Reusser is making an impressive effort, but she's got a scrap for glory today. And just looking at those numbers, you can see the riders that are really, well, burning up a little bit. Boris Stein looks like he's one of the coolest customers out there, isn't he? 37.9 degrees in marked contrast to 38.9 degrees for Hayden Wilde. Riders have different ability to manage their core temperatures, different numbers, and of course different levels of hydration. And not everyone, some have it, but not everyone has the value and the availability of a fan. Well, I can tell you there is a fan not too far away from Loan Duvoisin, but maybe just not pointed in the right direction at the moment and mopping her brow. Mader looks good, doesn't he? And from being outside the top 10, well, he's kind of somewhat hollow-cheeked and looks like he's got that vacant stage race stare look about him after 3 days of racing action and 5 races. Jason Osborne as well is pulling faces that he certainly wasn't doing in the first couple of days. This is starting to hurt, and he's in a scrap as Osborne now maintaining his advantage. Well, look at that. It's up over 275 meters now over Staker. So he's just got to continue the effort. We almost forgot about him in the last little while, but he's in a place now where he's heading towards glory and down to the final 6 kilometers, 6 and a bit kilometers remaining of this event. Hayden Wilde is potentially about to be overhauled. He's run third consistently throughout this event for Team Lugano, but he's now just the small matter of 150 meters ahead of Maro Schmidt, and that's going to go all the way to the wire, really. So the Schmidt and Pernsteiner pairing find themselves with a sniff here of a podium finish, and that could be very, very significant for Team Lugano. Team Basel would appreciate that as well in their efforts to try and surprise Lugano, I think, in the team's competition. Looking good for Lugano at the moment, but, well, you'd never know, and that would certainly put the cat amongst the pigeons a little bit. Hayden Wild, just the small matter of, well, maybe it's about just over 200 metres in actual fact that he's got. Sounds like a lot, but riders will be wilting, feeling the pain, and they're all, whether they're here in the hall in Salzsportshalle or at home, as Redo Hollenstein is racing in his home location. He's a Swiss rider, of course, but located in Austria, and on the climb, jogging up it. Painful but effective stuff, and he's in that four-way battle. Make it 5. You've got Boris Stein, Lukas Tomaszek, Martin van Riel. Thumbs up for Redo Hollenstein. His efforts are being rewarded today. Hollenstein has been consistently in around the sort of 7th and 8th place mark in this event so far. 7th in the first race, then 9th, and then a couple of 8th place finishes. He's got a shot at improving on that. Running 9th at the moment, albeit he's just as I say, I'd have a little look at the numbers, and he's slipped a couple of 100 metres behind Martin van Riel. So that's a slightly smaller group scrapping for the minor positions in the top 10. Tomaszek and van Riel are locked together. And so too Boris Stein has stepped on the pedals a little bit. And Stein, after his second place finish this morning, looking to finish with a top 6 finish. Just putting a little bit of daylight between himself, Tomaszek, and van Riel. We'll see whether that's a real advantage or one that can be closed up once more by his former companions. To remind you of the women's competition, Navi Garcia and Marlon Reusser, absolutely nothing to choose between them. Within 10 metres, as indeed they have been for much of this event. Garcia locked on, and consistently over 4.5 watts per kilo being produced by these riders. Osborne racing to glory. So too either Navi Garcia or Marlon Reusser. Who's got the legs for the fight? Are we going to have a sprint finish for the women's competition? I tell you what, this is going to be an absolute cracker. They're about 4 kilometres down on Jason Osborne. So what's that at this rate of progress? Something in the order of about 6 minutes. Difference between them. Steger now 600 and odd metres behind Jason Osborne, continuing to put daylight between himself and the second place man. Osborne's consistency, his ability to keep pressing and not just to hold the advantage that he has, but continue to sort of ratchet it up and squeeze the effort and, well, squeeze the living daylights out of the competition. He's pretty much destroyed them. It's been, well, nothing if not impressive, and his sheer physiological ability is, well, a sight to be believed. Former world roading champion, of course, silver medalist in the lightweight double sculls in the Olympics in Tokyo not so long ago. Grimet racing in a remote location. The Team Bike Exchange Ethiopian multinational road and time trial champion is, well, he's got another couple of years with Team Bike Exchange. Team Basel's Franz Luschke, the man racing at home. Hutzler as well, the triathlete, is doing the needful in 17th position at the moment. And Marta Bastianelli continuing to press on. No doubt fascinated to see how her two road racing teammates, Marlon Reusser and Navi Garcia, are going to get on in the conclusion of this event. I think she'll be fascinated, very, very interested to see how this one is going to play out. Garcia and Reusser running in that the group of riders running from 11th to 14th. Actually, Bennett has been distanced, so it's really just Brifo, Garcia and Marlon Reusser. So 2 Team Zurich and 1 Team Lausanne riders. Osborne is within a couple of kilometres of glory, of ultimate glory at this point. About 2.4 kilometres, something like that, between Jason Osborne and the final finish line and the final realisation of what has emerged as a dream for him to win all 5 events. I'm sure when he came in, he just wanted to give a good account of himself and get a win here or there, but the idea of taking all 5 victories, maybe not entirely on his radar when he began. You can be sure that that was very much the focus when he came into the South Sports Halle this morning. He took the victory this morning in the company of his teammate Boris Stein, made no mistake and attacked his teammate within the last kilometre to race clear and take the victory. On this occasion, didn't have his teammate for company, so he had to make sure that he was well clear of Thomas Steger, and the advantage is running at 600 metres now, and well, he's got what, just about 1.5 kilometres, maybe just a little bit over that, about 1.7 kilometres to the finish line now for your race leader, Jason Osborne. Down and into the city streets of Zurich once more and for the final time. The final relief of effort awaits for Osborne. At the moment, he's able to tap out 4 to 5 watts per kilo without it looking particularly demanding. I think he's already at this moment composing the victory speech, as well he might. It's been a dominant performance. It's sheer class, it's sheer strength and ability. It's also an understanding of how to play these e-biking games. Understands the particular parameters, the particular times to make your effort, and how to use the game to your advantage. Onto the kite, 1 kilometre left now, 1,000 metres for Jason Osborne. The gap between himself and Steger is down to 550 metres, but it's too little too late at this point, and Osborne has just throttled back a little bit to enjoy the moment and take on board the measure of his achievement. It's another top score for Team Basel, and well, I'm not so sure it's going to be enough for them to overhaul Team Lugano in the team's competition. We'll wait for full calculation of that, but what is absolutely incontrovertibly true is that Jason Osborne has been the dominant performer amongst the men here in the South Sports Halle, and indeed in this virtual event in total. The hybrid esports digital sports 5 has certainly given us Digital Swiss 5 has given us so much entertainment over the last 3 days, and Jason Osborne has been a large measure of why that's been the case. He's in the closing stages and down to the last, 400 metres or so? And 300 metres to go now for Jason Osborne as he promenades through the park and up towards the finish line. Osborne from Steger. Steger continues to close and won't be that far behind at the end, but well, he's about 450. We'll keep an eye on the other scraps, but we'll bring Osborne home, and for the 5th and final time, we're going to see a virtual hands in the air and a fist pump salute, I suspect, for Jason Osborne. Across the line to complete. It has been a 5th success. What a level of dominance. What an extraordinary performance. What a great ability, and what a warm round of applause for Jason Osborne. He's deserved all of that. Stunning stuff for Osborne as we wait for the arrival of Thomas Steger, who will be the top scoring Team Lugano rider once more. It is 4th, indeed, 2nd place finish for Thomas Steger. So 4 fourths and a 3rd place finish. Remarkable consistency for the Austrian rider. Steger's home and hosed, job done. Not able to live with Jason Osborne, but nonetheless, by some margin, the best of the rest. Hayden Wild is coming through. To conclude, he's got just under 2 kilometres as he works his way through the streets of Zurich, and we'll focus on the battle behind. Pernsteiner not going to. Pernsteiner has 3 fourths and a 5th, not quite able to get on terms for a scrap for that final podium position. But you know what? Mauro Schmidt jumped him to take the 3rd place finish yesterday afternoon. So Schmidt looks like he's winding up for a final flurry here to see can he outsprint Hermann Pernsteiner. It's Switzerland on the left of your picture against Austria on the right, and more particularly it's Team Lausanne represented by Mauro Schmidt trying to overhaul Team Lugano's Hermann Pernsteiner on the run to the line. 1.5 kilometres remaining for them. The the intensity of their effort is going to draw them close to Hayden Wilde, but I think Wilde just about has enough in hand to hold on for that final podium position. He's just got over a kilometre to complete as well, and finds himself, as things currently stand, just round about just under 200 metres ahead of Maro Schmidt and Hermann Pernsteiner. Other gaps. Boris Stein's racing solo in 6th. Martin van Riel is going to have a little bit of a battle between himself and Lukas Tomaszek for 7th position. Then we've got Reto Hollenstein, who's dropping back into the clutches of the Hollenstein Gino Mader. Scrap those two riders. Like to race together, and they like to. We'll see who's got the sprinting legs on board to take those final 9th and 10th positions. And then the one we're interested in, slipped a few kilometres further back, is Marlon Reusser and Mavi Garcia. Who's going to get this one in the battle for 3rd, 4th and 5th? Well, Hayden Wilde is going to just about arrive across the line, and we'll focus on the battle for 5th between Maro Schmidt and Hermann Pernsteiner, and they're on the pedals going for glory. It's going to be a fully 500-metre effort at the end of 5 tough races. This is sheer agony. They're all out of the saddle. Wilde has still got a bit of work to do to get to the line ahead of these guys. They're pushing absolutely flat out, and I think Hermann Pernsteiner might just have a little bit more in hand, and Maro Schmidt, I think the wheels have fallen off. He just has given his all to stay on terms. What about this from Hermann Pernsteiner, who's charging towards the line? Hayden Wilde gets there just about in time to take the final podium position, and Hermann Pernsteiner's right behind him and some way clear of Maro Schmidt. So he's answered that challenge and reversed the finishing order from yesterday evening's finishing effort. So Schmidt is home in 5th. Boris Stein within 350 metres of the finish line. Martin van Riel will be next to finish after him. And we've got about, 4 kilometres of racing still for Marlon Reusser and Mavi Garcia. So we understand the Team Lugano have won the team's competition. We believe that that's going to be, will win as soon as the women have arrived home. That seems to be the almost certain conclusion. We wait for full confirmation of that. The leading women riders are still about 3.5 kilometres from the finish line at this point. Boris Stein is home in 6th position. Martin van Riel will be next to complete for Team Luzern, a Belgian rider, and well, what about that from Jason Osborne? No less than 5 consecutive victories. He's gone straight through the card, unbeaten in the first Digital Swiss 5 hybrid esports event. Let's hear from the race winner now.
5 stages, 5 victories. In the world of cycling, Jason Osborne, you are called the Cannibale.
Yeah, today the last stage was really, really tough. Yeah, like usually it's 1 race. Here it's 5 races in 3 days. So it's a lot of hard work, and yeah, like every stage is almost on the limit. And today Thomas made it very hard again for me. And yeah, heads off to Thomas and all the other guys racing. Was a lot of fun.
What's the best way to recover? There's just a very short gap between these stages, normally 1 stage per day, but here 2 stages per day. So what's the best way to recover to be ready for the next stage?
Yeah, today was very short break, so it's about getting some food in immediately after the race, get some carbs in, maybe some proteins, and then have a small lay down, and then try to calm down a bit before it all starts over again.
Thanks and congrats. Jason Osborne. And for sure, we will see what happens in the women's race. Ladies and gentlemen, Marlon Reusser on her last part of the race. It will be the first time she will give us an interview during the race, I guess. Marlon, what happened with Mavi Garcia? You lost her.
Yeah, you need to ask her, but I think she played smart because to me, today she was much stronger than in the races before, so it was interesting.
Where did you lose her?
In the last climb.
Okay, I know you enjoy the last K. We just passed Vaudoise, last K of the day, the last K of 5 stages. Enjoy, see you for ceremony.
She's got a ceremony to go to, that's absolutely guaranteed. And what about Marlon Reusser? She's answered that challenge, and what a great battle she's had with Mavi Garcia. And as she's alluded to, she's coming home to take glory. She's matching the achievement of Jason Osborne in going straight through the card and taking 5 consecutive victories, and now she can enjoy this final kilometre because Mavi Garcia has slipped a significant margin behind her, probably something in the order of about 800 metres at the moment. She really charged on the pedals, but Garcia was right in it, right through to that final climb on the 4th and final lap, and Mavi Garcia will come through for a very honourable second place. She's given us some great entertainment today for Team Lausanne, has Mavi Garcia, but it's Marlon Reusser who's within 400 metres of the finish line. So Reusser will get to take her across the finish line and see this wonderful achievement by the Swiss heroine, the national champion, the European champion, the medalist at World and Olympic level as well. Marlon Reusser in the victory celebration moment, less than 200 metres to the finish line. She's just going to promenade through these at just over 4 watts per kilo and 40 kilometres an hour. And what about Marlon Reusser? Another victory to be celebrated, another trip to the podium in the tandem with Jason Osborne. She has matched that achievement. It's a 5-time victory for Marlon Reusser. And finally, she can breathe and relax and enjoy the warm down as we await the arrival of Reusser, finishing in 11th, by the way, 11th overall amongst these competitors. Stunning stuff, really. She's amongst world's best competitors in road racing, triathlon, mountain biking. And Adrian Brifo is going to be next home. Garcia will complete. She's within 600 metres of the finish line. I'd say she can't wait for it at this point, but she's given it her all. What a fantastic, titanic scrap for a woman who's second in Tour de l'Ardèche this year. She took great victory in Giro dell'Emilia. I mentioned that second place finish in Strade Bianche in recent times as well, which has made her something of a hero. Adrian Brifo, the man who's ranked top 5 in World Triathlon Series competition. Brifo is going to finish this event in a fine 12th position. Worked hard to get up to the Reusser group, but Reusser had a little bit spare. Not quite able to get on terms with Gino Mader, but her and Mader just Team Zurich teammates and have a little bit of a chat about that. Brifo too is a Team Zurich teammate, and he's home in 12th. And Mavi Garcia, racing in a remote location, is almost there at the finish line. Well away from Mavi Garcia, finally a smile. The pained expression breaks into a broad beaming smile, and she too can relax and say, a job well done. She certainly honoured the colours and honoured the event with a really impressive performance. Super impressive performance coming into and another podium finish on offer for Hannah de Vet, the Belgian triathlete. Not quite able to get up for the victory, but what about that for consistency? 5 consecutive podium finishes, 4 second place finishes and a third is a pretty decent haul of points for Team Lugano and Hannah de Vet. Indeed, these points are important for Team Lugano to ensure that they win the team's title. It seems almost, but not quite, in actual fact certain. So de Vet has needed to ensure that she stayed ahead of the best of the Team Basel women, which is, of course, Laura Chacon. She's put a decent amount of daylight between her, and this is going to be useful indeed. And she's not that far from the finish line at this point. Hannah de Vet running in 19th place, just over a kilometre down, as some of the amateur competitors are just going to work their way through to the finish line. And we'll get set for the presentation of the prizes to our winning riders and to the winning team as well. The podium is being prepared. Will it be wine? Will it be cheese? Will it be a goodie bag? I'll tell you what, it's the honour and glory for these riders. There's been great collegiate atmosphere in it between all of the riders. They've dined together. The hotel, they've shared the hotel accommodation as well. So there's been a great atmosphere, and for I think all of these riders who've come from various different disciplines to meet up and have a chat and exchange information and views. It's been an absolute rousing success. The second Digital Swiss 5 and the first as a hybrid esports event specifically has been, I think, from my point of view, at any rate, a resounding success, a very, very entertaining prospect, and more in prospect in years to come. I think it's a great new addition to the world of esports. Jan Saska's next to complete, running in 17th place, and down to the final 200 metres is Hannah de Vet, who's going to be our final podium finisher in the individual standings. Saska from Team Lausanne and the Czech Republic completes, and next up, through and into shot very shortly, will be Hannah de Vet. Hannah de Vet's done, finally can smile. Job done for herself. Her partner Hayden Wild, podium finishers both in the final race in the Digital Swiss 5. So very shortly we'll have the podium ceremony. I think at this point all the various honours are pretty much decided and understood. We've still got a few riders out there, of course, that will complete. The major prizes have been established at this point. Now the Digital Swiss 5 is almost, but not quite, at a conclusion for 2021. And we look forward to the delights that are presented. Of course, Tour de Suisse coming up next June will also be the next important event. And I very much look forward to that one. Always one of the highlights of the sporting year, not just of the cycling year. Sean Bennett's through, Jakub Kadlec has completed, Abu Grumet is going to complete with 21st position for the Team Zurich squad. Nina Deron is still out there as well. Still quite a few riders indeed yet to complete. Franz Luschke running in 23rd and running solo, as indeed as are most of the riders towards the back end of the order. The particular course and challenge presented, real sting in the tail, wasn't it, for the competitors. This is one of the grippiest courses of the entire 5 races, and I think everybody's stretching weary limbs at this stage, trying to get some life back into them. To complete, Kadlec, then Grumet, Nina Deron, Luschke, Laura Chacon is in there for Team Basel. I think we can start the podium ceremony now. Let's get the presentation underway, and down to you, Stefan.
It's time for another victory ceremony, so welcome again, and we're looking forward to see the fastest riders of this first Digital Swiss 5 hybrid. We start as well with the first woman. Congrats again to the silver medalist of the World Championship of the Olympic Games, European and Swiss champion. Here is, representing Switzerland, Marlen Reusser. Presenting the awards will be today Chris Blumfeld-Brown, product manager of Core, and we welcome with a big crowd the world champion again, 5 stages, 5 victories for the man from Germany, world champion Jason Osborne. So we just have a second, Jason. So first eat, then going home. What's next for you in this winter? You're just in the training for next season.
Basically next week I have the Taiwan e-cycling cup, which is was a good training here for that. So and after that, of course, the Swift Worlds in February, and between that some rowing as well.
So you're still in training for rowing, or just to compensate too much cycling?
Yeah, at the moment I'm doing both. I still like rowing, and yeah, I want to keep the ball rolling in both sports.
We're looking forward to see you in both sports, and for sure, good luck for Taiwan. Marlon, let's talk very short about your next seasons. It's still winter time. So still some more months for the next races.
Yeah, I will go to some basic endurance training now. Now I had the efforts for some months. No. Yes, and for example, next week we have a camp with the Swiss Federation where we prepare a little bit and have medical tests and stuff. Yeah.
So at the moment, everything is running along the plan.
Yeah, I think so. But it's really early. We just started after the off-season, so I can't say nothing.
We will see. Looking forward. Thank you so much. Congrats and thanks. Marlon Reusser and Jason Osborne. And we will proceed this victory ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, with the team classification. And there is another stage win for our team with 2 triathletes and 1 road cyclist here in the Saalsporthalle, riding together with 2 athletes outside, Sien Bennett and Thomas Steger. So greetings from Zurich to Sien and Thomas. And we are looking forward to see the 3 here in the hall on the podium again. Welcome from Belgium, 18th of the World Championship, Hanne de Weet. Welcome on the podium, his friend. 3rd at the Olympics in Tokyo, representing New Zealand, Hayden Wild. And welcome again, the 10th of the overall ranking of the Giro d'Italia, representing Austria, Hermann Pernsteiner. Und Thomas Steger sehen wir auch endlich. So, Thomas Steger, we have him in the Saalsporthalle as well. Greetings, Thomas. Great races we have. Well, we haven't seen it, but we saw your efforts and we saw your racing on ROUVY. Congrats again to Hanne de Weet, Hayden Wild and Hermann Pernsteiner. Congrats to the best team, Team Lugano. And with this picture, back to Velon.
Thanks very much, Stefan. And big smiles all around, and something for everyone in the audience there, wasn't there? Because the honours were shared out pretty evenly. Glorious success for Marlon Reusser as she takes 5 victories out of 5 in the Digital Swiss 5. Similar performance for Jason Osborne. It's a clean sweep for the UCI Esports World Champion. And for Team Lugano, packing well at the head of affairs and racing to Team Glory as they take 4 of the 5 races and hold off the late bid for glory by Team Basel. That's it from the Digital Swiss 5 of 2021. My name's Declan Quigley. It's been my very great pleasure to bring it to you over the next 3 days. We look forward to seeing you somewhere out the road in a virtual sense in the next little while. But for now, from all of us here in the Saalsporthalle in Zurich and elsewhere, it's goodbye.